Hey everyone, Dan here. Before I get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. And keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy.
All right, folks, here we are on Monday, December 4th. We're going to take a look at Palantir. So Palantir, as expected, if you go back and watch the last video, it slipped this uptrend support. Basically, a quick recap of that vid was I was saying how this is very steep uptrend support, and while it could continue to push, it was going to need a lot of gas to keep that steep of an uptrend going. So I said, I'm interested to see what it does when it slips it. And it slipped it relatively quickly. Now, last night I was looking at it, I was thinking, wow, this is showing some interesting strength because it came down not too far through and then started to do the thing that we always worry about when a stock breaks a downtrend, which is they break it, they don't get enough distance from it, and then they just end up following that downtrend down outside of the trend line. And it was doing that same idea, but to the upside here. So, lost the support, but then it was just following it up anyway. So it was sort of having the same outcome over time, just on the other side of the trend line. But that all sort of changed today. So, some of these stocks that have been pushing lately sort of had some pretty sizable pullbacks today. And that hit Palantir to the tune of over 9%. Now, we do have this level down here at 18, which is the nearest in down level. That was where it put in really important floor here that allowed it to push up through 20 and had held that for, a decent amount of time. 20 is a really tough level for Palantir. So I'm really interested to see, does that 18 still hold up? Are buyers still willing to step in and say, I think this is a good price for this stock, or do they not show up at all? Or does Palantir kind of flirt with this level too many times and the buyers stop showing up at some point? That's sort of what I'm interested to see. The sort of best bullish case scenario here, to my mind, is that it doesn't need to come down and retest 18. Not just because then it comes down further, but what we ultimately want to see is, even though now this is inevitably going to swing lower than this swing here, and this swing was lower than this swing here, the thing that could help neutralize any risk of just making a big sad face and retracing this whole move would be to refuse to come down to the previous floor. So it's pretty close to it now, but it still has enough wiggle room that, if it only dips down to, say, 1820, 1825, something like that, that's a pretty reasonable distance from 18, percentage-wise at least. That could make me feel like, okay, maybe there's some more bullish momentum to be worked out here, and it's just sort of going to take a little breather and then reemerge. But it's all just guessing at this point because this is just developing. Now, as a flag, to throw a flag up, or or as a caution, I would just remind folks there is this big gap that it would enter at 1721, and it wouldn't fill it until it came down here to this purple. I don't even think it's actually 1505. It's 1496 is where it would actually fill that. So huge gap, which could have major ramifications for the percentage swing if it does fill it. I don't know if it will, but just as a reminder, if it gets into the 17s, that gap gets mighty, mighty close pretty quickly. So yeah, but for now, 18 is what I'm most interested in. And there's not a ton of price action that we have identified between 18 and 1919. So we'll see if that sort of plays out. It would be maybe interesting if it just kind of played in this space for a while and built in some levels that we would have, because that's a huge gap for us to have between support and resistance levels. But Palantir has done this before, right? Lengthy periods of just moving sideways. Here, this is a huge one way down here, right? Very lengthy period, but within sort of a sizable percentage range. So this is a pretty big percentage range, from about 10 all the way down to 5 or 6. But if you zoom out, it looks like it was, relatively flat in that range. But again, it's flat within a pretty large percentage range. Probably because it's, can be a relatively volatile stock. So even when it's condensing price action, it still does it within, a larger than, one of these mega caps price fluctuation. Okay, on the think or swim side of things, this has firmly brought the price back into the channel, and we see the histogram here. Nice smooth action, right? This one was pretty smooth, this was very smooth, and this one was very smooth as well. So interested to see, is it going to put in some bearish momentum here? Are we going to see something like this, or something tiny even like that? Or is it going to kind of flatten out to the baseline here and then reemerge with some more bullish momentum? I don't know, we'll have to see. But we do see it was pretty decent volume on that the drawdown. Now, for the moment, it's looking like it's wanting to slip the mid-range of the channel, but it's just one candle, and the mid-range of the channel is sort of like slicing through the middle of that candle. It didn't quite need to dip down to this lower mid-range of the channel, this grayish line here, and the bottom bound of the channel is, well into the 17s, may even be probably mighty close to where that gap is. This says 1719, but this adjusts every time that a candle gets put in. So this is dynamic and this will change. So I don't know exactly where it'll be tomorrow. But, if it does come down toward the bottom bound of that channel in the near future, like the next day or two, then you're probably getting really, really close to that gap. So something to just keep in mind. Otherwise, I'm just sort of interested to see what it does with the mid-range of this channel. It's an interesting way that this could play out would be if it kind of pinned itself to the mid-range of the channel for a while, took a breath, gathered itself, and started to trigger on the TTM squeeze indicator. So we'll see. It's it's volatile enough that it doesn't go through super lengthy periods of pinning itself to the mid-range. This was one, but again, it's not super lengthy. They're often like this, right? It's just a few days, kind of futzing around there, and then it takes off, like this. But this was a little bit more of condensing and pinning to the mid-range. So I'd almost be interested to see that take shape, and then especially if the TTM squeeze indicator started to trigger, that could be really interesting. So we'll have to see what happens. But like I said, one candle, but it certainly sort of negates the idea that I was having last night when I was looking at it of, oh wow, this is just following this uptrend up, but outside of it. So, all right, folks, I hope that your trading week is off to a good start. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.